Yep, it's me again. I just thought I'd have a little bit of fun. I got my first one out. Thought I'd get the second one out. This one I'm just going to cover my Marine Corps career. Back in 1970, I joined the Marine Corps. Didn't tell anybody I was going in. Went in though. Graduated Parris Island. It was all right. Went to Memphis, Tennessee. Went home, got married, high school sweetheart, and went back to Memphis. About a week after I got back to Memphis, my grandma Soper died. Hazel, told you about that in the first video. So I couldn't go to the funeral. But I ended up going out to El Toro and decided that I wanted to go to Vietnam, just like I did when I went in. I thought the only way to do it was to learn the job. I learned the job. Not only my job, but I also learned the NCO's job, staff NCO's job, QAR job. That's quality assurance, QA. So finally I volunteered for orders over to Vietnam. Well, when I arrived in Japan, spent about 4 days there. Got shipped off to the Philippines. I guess they couldn't just send me to Vietnam. They had to make the full globe. But anyways, got over there, joined the Silver Eagles. VMFA 115. And we ended up having a ball. Steve Demers was my boss. Charlie Turbofield was a staff sergeant in charge of radar shop. And Staff Sergeant Steve Demers had the flight line. I was a plane captain. And I was there about a month. They told me that I had to take the PC test. That's the plane captain's test. And I told Steve that if I was going to take the PC test, I'd also have to take the CDI test and the QAR test, which goes kind of sort of against the rules, because as a PC you're allowed to do that as a private PFC. I was a PFC at the time. But CDR, Collateral Duty Inspector, CDI, that was a job for an NCO. I got over there, got promoted to Lance Corporal. On my way over there, I got promoted to Lance Corporal, time in service, whatever. Anyways, I got there as a Lance Corporal. They gave me my promotion warrant as soon as I arrived and checked into 115. Anyways, I told Steve about the CDI and the QAR test. Well, he kind of just joked at me, and I came down hard. If I'm going to do one, I'm going to do three. Take it or leave it, I don't care. As a Marine, you always put your cards on the table. Let them fall wherever they fall. If you fall, everybody knows it. But if you stand up to what you believe, you can do no wrong. Well, Major Howell was the maintenance officer. He had just taken over 2 or 3 months before that. They had a major aircraft accident. Involved maintenance personnel apparently not doing their job right, I guess. Didn't really get the whole story, don't really care. It was before my time. I don't look at yesterday, I don't look at history. What happened yesterday, history. Today's today. Well, Steve says, okay, wise ass, we're going to give you the test. Okay, PC test is a closed book. You take the test, blip, answer the questions. CDI test, collateral duty inspector, you need part of the books. Part of them. You're not allowed all the books though, but you're allowed part of the books. So I took the CDI test. QAR test, books are yours. Passing is like everything else. You know, F stands for fail, flunky. P stands pass. Nothing in the middle. You either pass or you're a flunky. Now you're allowed, I think it was a QAR test, you were allowed three errors. CDI test, you had to ace. PC test, had to ace. You know, if you miss one, you fail. Cut and dry. That was the ruse. And I thought they were pretty good. You know, personally. You know, you either got it or you don't have it. So, I took the test. All three of them. Took all three of the tests. Well, aced the first one. PC test. Aced the second one. CDI test. Third one question wrong. Well, they gave me my PC certificate, but they wouldn't give me my CDI. And I told Steve, this ain't right. If I took the test, I deserve to get my stamp. Got to be a corporal. Kiss my ass. Then promote me to corporal. I want to talk to somebody. So he took me upstairs to see the maintenance officer, Major Howell, who years later, General Howell. I guess they promoted him pretty quick. Well, got in front of Major Howell and he was showed the paperwork. Now they didn't tell me about the question I got wrong on the QAR test. They didn't tell me that. They just told me they wouldn't give me my CDI because I wasn't a corporal. So anyhow, the major looked at the paperwork and looked at me and he says, I see you aced the PC test. Yes, sir. And I also see that you aced the CDI test. I said, yes, sir, but that's the one that's the problem, because I'm not going to get a stamp. And he goes, well, not until we pin those corporal stripes on you. And we're looking into that now. And I said, okay. And he goes, and I also see you missed a question on the QAR test. What? What do you mean I missed a question? I didn't miss any question on that. Well, the major just looked at me like, how dare you talk to a major like that? Well, he showed me the question that I missed. And I read the question. And I said, the answer is in the 4790.2 Bravo. And he looked at me. And he said, it's where? And I said, 4790.2 Bravo. Well, the 4790.2 Bravo is the officer's 4790. The 2 Alpha is for the maintenance guys. Now, if you look up that question in the 2 Alpha, you get a different answer. But if you look up that question in the big book, which I did, you get the other answer. Well, Major Howe seen the discrepancy there, and he goes, looks like you aced that one too. Okay. Well, I was there about a month, and Liberty was, I didn't really care for it. It cost me a couple of cigarettes to get my Mai Tai. I got a gallon of Mai Tai every morning out in the Red Label area. The locals furnished a gallon of Mai Tai, which is a pretty good alcoholic drink for 2 cigarettes. And the place, if you've seen the show MASH, MASH is just, that's how we live. About 24 people per hooch. 12 on days, 12 on nights. The guy that, where you slept at, as soon as you went to work, somebody else got right in your spot. And that was his spot for 12 hours. So, you know, I kind of like the movie MASH because it reminds me of Nam Phong, Thailand, which was out in the jungle. 99 degrees at night, 130, 135 during the day. You didn't sweat though, because I was always filled with Mai Tais. But I went on Liberty, had 2 cigarettes that apparently were laced, and Staff Sergeant Avery, he was a staff sergeant in Ordnance, put me on the bus and sent me back. For 4 days, I worked. No food went in my mouth. No water went in my mouth. I stayed at work for 4 days. I was launching an airplane the 4th day. My hands went up, and I stared at him. Charlie Turbofield came over, told me to launch the airplane. He's going to talk to me. So I launched the airplane, went up to Charlie, and I just, what's going on? Well, he filled me in on what happened. Apparently I got pretty well drugged out. The second day of my 4 days of not knowing what I was doing, they sent me to a meritorious promotion board because of the CDI test. And I later talked to Major DeJong. He was on the board. He informed me that I showed up there in Staff Sergeant uniform, you know, the camis with, I had Staff Sergeant chevrons because I borrowed Steve Deemer's, who was like 3 times the size of me, because I didn't have a good enough uniform for the promotion board. I had my war hat, but I went as a Staff Sergeant. And I just looked at him and I went, hey, you got to be kidding me. Well, Major DeJong asked me about, well, he told me what happened at the promotion board, that I confessed that I did drugs last night on Liberty. And then I said the word smoke as I was looking at everybody. And then next guy asked a question, and I answered it totally truthfully. I can't answer that question because right now I'm higher than a kite, and if I get another cigarette, I might even want to get higher. All of a sudden I said the word fire. Top of my lungs. Bellered the word fire, just like you're tall. Apparently, according to Major DeJong, the first question when I said smoke, apparently everybody was writing, and all I seen was smoke coming off their pens. But when I admitted that I would do it again, just to get a higher high than what I was now, flames came up from everybody. That's why I yelled fire. And then, but anyways, you know, I did not know that then. That was a couple of days later when I talked to Major DeJong about the promotion board, because Charlie Turbofield told me that I had to talk to him, get a couple good laughs out of it. But Charlie told me to look at my ID card. I wish I would have kept a picture on my ID card that they took, because you took one look at that picture and you knew that I was not in my mind. My eyes were fixed, dilated, you name it. Everybody knew that I was higher than a kite. But I worked for 4 days before I came off that. And I got my CDI stamp. And I was also authorized QAR. So that started avalanches of promotions. I made E6 and under 6. I was on my second tour overseas with the same squadron, BMFA 115, in 1975, 1976, bicentennial year. I knew that they were going to have a noteworthy inspection, because all the paperwork in the flight line had a Lance Corporal Taylor written on it. That eventually turned into Corporal Taylor written on it. In other words, they spent 4 years keeping my paperwork up to speed for their inspections. So I took the whole paperwork, everything, 4790, the whole bit, put it in the trash can, went to QA, reordered everything. Well, the maintenance officer called me into his office because he was told what I did. And I told the maintenance officer why I did it. I'm sorry. I don't live a lie. And, well, he accused me of lying. Told me to go to the trash and prove my statement. Okay, fine. So I went to the trash, got about 4 or 5 different items with my name on it, took it back and put it down his desk. He looked at it and he went, "You're correct in your decision, Sergeant Taylor. Thank you for doing that." "You're welcome, sir." I turned around and started to walk out. He popped up and he goes, "Sergeant Taylor." And I turned around and I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Aren't you going to take this stuff with you?" I looked at him and I went, "I threw it away once. Somebody called me a liar. I'm not going to throw it away the second time." And I walked out of his office. You know, call me brass balls, whatever. I don't care. You know, you don't question what's right. You don't. Well, the maintenance chief liked that response. He transferred me into maintenance control after I got the paperwork going, got things rolling paperwork-wise in the flight line. He transferred me into maintenance control. Never worked maintenance control in my life. Maintenance control is in charge of nine different shops. Metal shop, electric shop, radar. Now I knew about the systems because like I said before, I learned the airplane. I learned the F4, all the systems. And sure enough, he taught me quite well how to run a maintenance control. They had a thing called a STAR report. Well, we ended up going down to the Philippines, and I was in charge of the STAR report. That's a reporting system. You got to report on your 12 airplanes. Well, these 2 officers got themselves hacked up or killed or something over in Japan. Put the whole fleet on alert. And we had to report, you know, alert status, high alert. Well, my report said we didn't have any airplanes. And Iwakuni, we're down in the Philippines. Iwakuni, Colonel, General, whoever was in charge of the Star Report, didn't see my sense of humor at all, saying that we didn't have any airplanes, and knowing full well that I got to report 12 airplanes. And we're supposed to have at least 6 of them totally RFI. You know? It's a full mission capable, FMI. Or PMI, partial mission capable. PMC, that's what it was, PMC. You had full mission capability, FMC, and then you had PMC. And then you had NORS, not operational ready supply. Well, we had a lieutenant in charge of maintenance control. He decided he's going to start doing the Star Report. Now, that Star Report's got to be turned in by midnight. There's curfew in the Philippines. So he took himself off. He had to work days, come in about 11 o'clock at night, do the Star Report, and call it in. Well, I get a phone call about 3:30 in the morning from Iwakuni. Apparently this lieutenant, who also teaches math at a college level, reported 37 airplanes. Now, you're only supposed to report 12, but he reported 37 airplanes. And they wanted me to correct it, and I refused to. That Star Report is not my job. Captain, you're going to have to wait till morning and talk to the major. So I just hung up the phone. I went back to work. Well, next morning I was telling the boss about that phone call. Naturally, he told me to stick around. Major Forney was the maintenance officer. Naturally, about an hour in the day shift, Major Forney called over wanting to see Taylor. So I go over and see Major Forney. Major Forney started reading me the Riot Act. I folded my hands. Did not stand at attention, just folded my hands, folded my arms, which is something you don't do in the Marine Corps. Major Forney stopped, asked me what the problem was. And I said, you got to talk to the LT. That Star Report was taken away from me, given to him. He's the one that reported 37 airplanes, not me. That Star Report was not my job. That was his job. And I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I hung up on the fool, letting him know that it's not my job. You know, that's the LT's job. He had the BOQ's phone number. He could have called the LT up at the BOQ. You know? I don't see the problem there. Well, nothing happened really. That night, when the LT came in, him and I talked. Come to find out, he did get a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning. But he just changed the numbers that was in his head to make the Star Report look good. You know, even though it was nothing but a lie. But anyways, you know, no big deal. Not to me. Well, I got orders. I was going to go and become a DI. Parris Island, South Carolina. So I started running, because I know that DIs, all they do is run in their boots. So I had about 2 months left, so I started running. And I got pretty good at it, I guess. Eventually I was doing 5 miles a day, 13.5 miles on Saturday. Did that from 1976 to when I retired in 1990. Got about 9-10 marathons under my belt, no big deal. But technically, I graduated DI school, because halfway through it, I found out that my staff sergeant warrant was waiting on me. But Gunny, that was in charge of me, didn't want to give it to me because he didn't like me. And I had to remind him what UCMJ was, and also the law. I'm not PCS, I'm TAD. Parent Command sent you my warrant. You got 24 hours to give it to me, or you're in violation, and I will report you. So they had a little special thing, and I got promoted to staff sergeant. Now, went through rest of DI school, and then it came time for graduation. What they do at DI school is they put you out on the street for 2 days, get your feet wet, show you what the job is. And your instructions is, don't touch a recruit, just watch. Don't do anything, because a recruit can bring charges against you. And in the 2nd Battalion, $50 per allegation, taken out of your pay, until you prove yourself innocent on your time. Okay, no big deal. I went out for those 2 days and watched. Didn't talk to nobody, just watched. I get back to DI school, and I find out I got 3 allegations. I was told by the major, go to dispersing, sign over $150 in my next pay. Do what? Oh, by the way, you will also be at graduation tomorrow morning. You can kiss my ass about graduation, because I'm not going to go to dispersing. Well, he ordered me to go to dispersing, so I left. Did I go to dispersing? Yes, I did. And I made the representative sign a statement that I had in my wallet that I was at dispersing, in time to sign over that $150, which I refused to do. But I'm going to graduation tomorrow morning, and I'm going to show up there in PT gear. And that's exactly what I did. I showed up the next morning in PT gear at graduation and sat in the colonel's chair. When the major showed up, he looked at me in PT gear. I think he got upset and informed me that I'm not going to graduate, that I'm going back to the fleet. Fantastic. That's just what I want. Back to the fleet. Well, I went back to the fleet. I went back MCAS. So, and I stayed there and had fun for 2 or 3 years, and then we had a change of command. Now, back earlier in my career, in '73, when I was a corporal, we had a captain that wanted to disobey plane captain signals, which could have resulted in injury of 4 men. So I sent in an anti-mouse. An anti-mouse is a way of reporting stuff to the safety center, and you sign your name to it. Well, you don't have to sign your name to it, you just fill it out and send it in. But I signed my name and 2686508. That was my military number. I was the last one to get it. 2686508. And I mailed it in. 3 days later, safety center arrived at the squadron and took that captain and took away his flying privileges and scheduled him for a complete NATOPS reevaluation. So, that's good. Well, here it is years later. I got 2 years left before I pretend I'm retarded. And who comes to the squadron? Lieutenant Colonel Hatchett. The same man that I had to strip of flying privileges, complete NATOPS reevaluation. He takes over the squadron. We're called in for staff call. Staff call is when you stand up and you tell the new CO name, rank, service number, what you do in the squadron. Well, at that time, I was the old saw. I'm the guy that showed up for inspection, my jacket thrown over my back. And I'd wait until they get done with the yo-yo thing. And then I'd find my spot and do the inspection and get out of town. Never flunked an inspection. Never did. Always got an ace, always got an outstanding, pure Marine Corps. Either you flunk or you pass. I passed everything I did because I had the world right there. I was Antichrist. I had the world in the palm of my hand. Anyway, he's already told 2 or 3 people, because I was sitting in the back, not to have their might as well go home and pack your bags. Well, when it got to be my turn, I didn't even stand up. I put my hands on my knees and started to stand up. Hatchett popped up and went, "Taylor, your trash better be outside." Well, I finished standing up, and this is something, again, that you do not do. I stood up, and I went, "If my trash is outside, my ass is with it." Well, I walked out of staff call and slammed the door behind me. And I went back to work. Well, about an hour later, Sergeant Major comes over, looks at me and goes, "I'm glad you're here, Gene." "Why's that?" "Court-martial." "What?" "If you would have went home, I was to make out court-martial against you." "Oh, really?" "Oh, it looks like we're going to have fun with this guy." "Oh, what an asshole." "Okay, no problem." Well, I know some people, so I went to group, find out who's who in Marine Corps history. Good friend of mine I grew up with, him as an officer, me as a enlisted. Last time I served with him, he was a major. Called him Major Enos. His real name is Enos. E-N-U-S. Gotta call him Enos. Because I knew Second Lieutenant Enos. And then I knew Lieutenant Enos. And then Captain, and now Major Enos. So I find out that he's going through the War College at Quantico. So I get the number. Quantico War College. Called up. Pretended that I was somebody that was looking for my long lost brother. And I needed his home phone number. Well, like any sob story, if you make it good enough, they give you the home phone number without going through the phone book or dictionary or however else you can get a phone book. So I left and went home, called the number. His wife Margaret answered the phone. I told Margaret who I was. She remembered me. And she started laughing. "You used to call him Major Enos." And I said, "That's right." "Well, you're going to have to call him Full Bird Colonel Enos now." "What? They promoted that fool?" "Yes, they did, twice. Once to Lieutenant Colonel and then Full Bird Colonel." "Wow." we're talking a heavy hitter here. Could you have him call me when he gets home? Sure it will. Well, about an hour later, about 8 o'clock at night, I get a phone call. Come to find out, Colonel Anus has got a problem with Lieutenant Colonel Nut. So he says, you're going to be home in about an hour? And I says, I'm here. So he went and took care of some business, and I get a phone call. Him and his best friend, just so happens to be in charge of the orders department, tells me that I can go to Hawaii for my last 2 years. I can come here to Yuma for my last 2 years. Or I can go down and visit the ducks for my last 2 years. And I'm going, hey, I'm not going to split my family for 2 years after I bought this house in Beaufort. Send me to the ducks. So the colonel says, okay, your orders are taken care of, and you're already UA. You're AWOL. A couple weeks AWOL. But we'll take care of that here. I'm AWOL? Don't worry about it, Gene. We'll take care of it here. Okay. You'll get your orders tomorrow morning first thing. Okay. So I go to work the next morning. Sergeant Major's in the parking lot as I drive up. And he is pissed. Because he was ordered to wait for me and to physically take me to the CO. The CO accused me of calling CMC. I did not call CMC. I did not call CMC. He called me a liar. I said, no, sir. I did not call CMC. We have orders here, and you're already UA. You're supposed to have been down there to the Navy 2 weeks ago. You were supposed to have been discharged out of here before I took command. Oh, really? Huh. Well, somebody screwed up somewhere. But I'm not UA. I mean, I'm still here. Well, I checked out that base that day. I was all checked out. I get down there to Jacksonville, Florida. New set of orders were mailed to me with all the endorsements. So the orders that the skipper gave me, I just wadded, trashed it, took down the orders that came in the mail, the current ones, you know. So I had plenty of time to get down there to Jacksonville, Florida. Well, the Navy, never have I gotten in so much hot water in the Marine Corps as I did with the Navy. I can go on forever and ever and ever and ever telling you about the fun times I had with the ducks. We had a white inspection one time. The squadron I was with was the training command. So you're talking, about 1,000 men being inspected one time. So the ranks I was in was the officer and the senior enlisted. So you're talking, probably 20 long, 20 deep. You know, almost a Marine Corps squadron, just with officers and senior enlisted. I'm in the back with the Marine Corps. This master sergeant standing next to me. Him and I's already had words, because he grew up there at Jacksonville working with the Navy. Never been with the Marine Corps. Every rank he had was with the ducks. He knows more about ducks than the ducks do. And him and I's already had words. He don't like me from Adam. And I have no respect for him either. You know, I wanted to counsel this one girl, and he wanted to know how does it feel to have an officer's cock shoved in your pussy. And I went, excuse me? I went straight to the Sergeant Major. Base Sergeant Major. Told the Base Sergeant Major what just happened. Base Sergeant Major came down, had a talk with him. You know, you don't talk to females like that. Sure, I might have fun with females. I did all the time. Picked on them, left and right. Staff Sergeant Moss, prime example. In Buford, we get back from overseas, and Staff Sergeant Moss is redhead. We had a few incidences overseas that kind of stirred the pot. She tried to get me in trouble over there for sexual harassment 4 or 5 times, which never amounted to a hill of beans. But we arrived in Buford about the time that Marine captain had the little lesbian affair thing with the enlisted girl. So I popped up with a joke, and everybody told me to tell Moss at the first maintenance meeting. First maintenance meeting, you got the CEO, XO, Sergeant Major, all the heavies from the shops are in here. And then there's Moss and me. So I tell Moss to joke. You know what that went to, you know, we had 4 days off. You know, 96, when we got back from overseas. And I told her during that 96, I went to Parris Island, and here's this red rope around this girl. And I'm kind of curious what that represents. Well, she looked at me and she goes, you know good and well what that represents. And I said, well, I might have my version of it, but what's yours? And she goes, you know that's the symbol for a drill instructor. Oh. Gee, I thought it was something else. She asked. I want to make that clear. She asked. She asked me, well, what did you think it was? And I looked at her, and I went, the heterosexuals, the few and the proud. She looked at me and started laughing. And she popped up and she goes, I'm going to have to remember that one, Gunny, because that is a good joke. And everybody was laughing. Everybody started laughing. And then she made a mistake. She goes, but you know what the truth is about that red rope? And I said, what's that? And she goes, I hated it. Every chance I had, I would rip that thing off. Well, just like I did overseas, I did it again. Remember Jack Benny? Yep. I went, well, up until now, I never considered you one. Everybody busted a gut. Like she did overseas. When I did it was another stupid statement she made. She turned as beet red as her hair, totally embarrassed, and walked out of the maintenance meeting. So, you know, and the Navy was the same way. So anyhow, I'm standing there at the white inspection, laughing. I could not keep a straight face for nothing. And the inspector finally got to me, got in front of me, and he goes, Gunny, I've been watching you the whole inspection. What is so funny? And I looked at him, and the only thing I could say was, these ducks are wearing underwear. He looked at me, and then he looked down the rank, and he looked back at me, and he goes, I have been in the Navy 25 years, and this is the first time I've seen it. You are totally correct. It does look like underwear. Yes, sir, it does. Well, he looked at the guy keeping score, And then he looked me over, even though I was still laughing. He told him to give me an outstanding uniform. Noteworthy. Outstanding, noteworthy uniform. It's perfect. Then he went on to the next guy. Well, who stands in front of me now? Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel. And he chews tobacco. He's RXO. And I hate him. He is a dork and a half. So, the smile vanished. Position of attention, solid, no smile. He started looking over my uniform. Then he grabs a hold of my lapel. And he goes, "What kind of shirt is this, Gunny?" And I looked at him and I went, "Boot camp issue. Laundry mark number 47. Lower left-hand lapel, sir." Well, he informed me that I will be in his office 5 minutes after dismissing from the inspection. Because you and I need to talk about an Arrowwood. Yes, sir. He went on. Well, after the inspection, sure enough, I went upstairs. He informed me he did not give a shit about me retiring. He did not give a one iota. I will buy an Arrowwood. I will get that thing laundered and ready for inspection. And he did. I don't care if you've got it hanging in your wall locker. The next inspection, you will wear that Arrowwood. Yes, sir. Well, an Arrowwood is about $50. Get it in, the Chevron sewed on and new ribbons and all the crap that's got to be done to them. You're talking $75, $80. Okay. I blew the money, got the Arrowwood, hung it up in my wall locker. Well, that Friday was mess night. Now, mess night is just what it says, mess night. Well, I'm sitting there. There's a senior chief sitting across from me, female, career planner. The XO comes up to me, and we're talking. He looks at my shirt, and he goes, "What shirt are you wearing?" "Boot camp issue, laundry mark 47, left lower lapel, sir. This is not an inspection. Therefore, my inspection shirt, as your order stated, is hanging in my wall locker, sir." He almost swallowed his chew, but he didn't. He just turned around and walked away after giving me a dirty look. The senior chief looked at me and went, "Oh, you know how to make friends, don't you?" And I went, "He's never been a friend. I've known him for 10 years. He's an asshole. But, senior chief, I finally got your rank structure put together." And she goes, "How's that?" And I said, "Simple. You join the Navy. You're an E1. If you go through boot camp and complete it, they promote you to E2. You're sent to your A school. Graduate A school, they promote you to E3. Now, once you do your A school and graduate, they send you to your first duty station. And if you survive 2 or 3, 4 months and do an outstanding job in your MOS, they promote you to E4. Once you've done about a year as E4, you get married to your high school sweetheart. Pop out the first kid, Navy feels sorry for you, so they pop out another and promote you to E5. About a year later, you pop out another one, Navy feels sorry for you, so they promote you to E6. Well, you're making too much money now. His knee's sick, so he decided to buy a truck. So, buying the truck, boom, promote you to E7. Well, now you got to buy a boat. So you buy a sailboat. Okay, boom, promote you to E8. Now you're in E8. And you got 20 years in. Wife knows that she can take you to court and get half of it. So she does that. She takes you to court, takes half of it. And kids are now in college. Both of them are over 18. So there's no child support. You only lose half your income. So you sell the boat because you can't make payments on it, and the truck's paid for. Luckily, she lets you keep the truck. So, divorce is final, kids are there, but you're just making ends meet. But you go back to work. All of a sudden, you fall in love again. So you get married. You marry an E1. Navy promotes you to E9. Now you're a Command Master Chief as an E9. The day I was checking in, I told this girl that American flag goes on the flagpole, not across your ass. Go back to the barracks and change your underwear. I want to see the American flag on the flagpole, not across your ass. And I checked in. Next place I went, Command Master Chief wants to see you, Gunny. Okay, no, he says CMC wants to see you, Gunny. CMC? What's the Commandant Marine Corps want to see me? Oh, no, that's Navy talk. Command Master Chief. He's like the Sergeant Major. Oh, okay. I didn't know what he wanted to see me for. So I go down and I see the Command Master Chief. Well, it seems like the girl that I told to put the flag back on the flagpole and off her ass was his wife, an E1. And he's an E9, Command Master Chief. And he wants me to apologize? Bullshit! I turned around and walked out. I'm not apologizing for that. She better tell his wife what the rules and regulations for the Navy is, you know? Because it ain't wearing red striped underwear under a see-through white Navy dress. Well, anyways, when I got done with all that, because that senior chief knew about that story with the Command Master Chief, because all those chiefs stick together. Anyways, this E9 ex-Command Master Chief was sitting about 4 people down and overheard me go through the ranks right there. Stands up, comes behind her, and says, I got to see CMC first thing Monday morning because he's leveling charges against me for going through his service record book. I went, what? Apparently, when I was going through the structure, I was reliving his whole history. He did exactly what I said he did, going through the rank. And I was just making it up. So Monday morning, I go down to, sure enough, I'm called Command Master Chief. So I go down to the Command Master Chief, and sure enough, I'm there. Well, the senior chief, the girl I was talking to, she comes down. And she literally got me out of the frying pan and onto normal ground. because she said that with my tone and the way I was laughing, I was making stuff up as I was going. But if it so-called fit his career, I learned a lot about him today that I found out Friday night when Gene was telling me all about it. You know? So, anyhow, when it came time for me to retire, I sent Saudi Arabia was firing up. They wanted Marines to go to Saudi Arabia. So I sent a message without telling the Navy in the Marine Corps system, send me to Saudi. Marine Corps came back and said in order for them to send me to Saudi, they'd have to replace me, and they weren't going to do that. So I said, okay, you're not going to do that, then I'm out of here. So I submitted my package, and I'm going to retire. So I counted my days back and found out exactly the day that I was going to retire, and I didn't tell the Navy. They ain't got no reason to know. That's Marine Corps business, not their business. Well, the day came. I went out for a foreign object damage walk. It's done every morning. Came in, went straight to admin. Checkout sheet. What? Checkout sheet. Got my checkout sheet. Boom. I was checked out that day. Everything done. Next morning, I'm in the barracks. And because Pam and one or two, both of the kids were going to come down about 2 o'clock and pick me up. And this is about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching TV, having a cup of coffee and blue jeans and a shirt. Just waiting for my ride to go home and get a decent ID card, retarded ID card. And the phone rings. The duty asked me, told me that the phone was for me. Well, it turns out to be the CO secretary, who's a civilian. They got civilians working in that squadron. Well, it seems like the CO found out that I'm leaving, and he wants to talk to me. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll be over. So I went over. Had to show my security badge to get through the gate, which I kept, because I was going to go over and see Bev and a couple other people before I left. So I kept it. I went over, went upstairs, and the secretary looked at me and said that the CO is not going to see me unless I'm properly dressed. I looked down at myself and I went, yes, I'm properly dressed. But if he wants to see me naked, I started unbuttoning my shirt. Well, she got hostile, told me to leave. Okay. I went downstairs, got a cup of coffee, had a couple of cigarettes, and saying goodbye to people that I spent the last 2 years with. And I go through the gate. Gate guard said, no, Gunny, you gotta go back upstairs. CO wants to see you. What? CO wants to see you. That's bull. Nope, CO wants to see you. Okay. So I went back upstairs. As soon as the secretary saw me, she just pointed to the CO's door. Didn't say hi, didn't ask me how I was, didn't, negative attitude. Very negative. I guess she had dreams of seeing me naked. I don't know. Anyways, I walked in, opened up the CO's door. Biggest room I ever saw. 2 plush couches at an angle in front of a desk sitting in the corner. Long red rug. Big room. I'm talking 20 feet by 20 feet, 25 feet by 25 feet. Big room. So I walked in, I shut the door, and I looked around. Sure enough, there's a coffee pot over by the wall with 4 cup saucers. Saucers are upside down. I walked over, grabbed the coffee, and poured myself a cup of coffee. Set it down, went over, sat down in one of the chairs, and asked him what he wanted. He just sat there. And he goes, "You're not going to report to me." No reason to. You called me here. I checked out yesterday. It's over. Well, he said, "We're waiting for the XO." Okay. Well, lucky for me that they changed the XOs. Lieutenant Colonel Church is now the XO. Now, Church and I grew up together too. I first met Church when he was an LT. Kind of lost track of him, Captain Major, you know. But finally ran into him again. He's a Lieutenant Colonel. He comes in, nice and snappy, and he reports to the CO. CO looked at him and said, "Lieutenant Colonel Church, do you know about this?" Well, Colonel Church looked out at me. I'm sitting there with my coffee. I took a little swig of coffee and looked at him. Colonel Church looked at me and kind of got that puzzled look on his face. So I kind of whispered to him, "FTS." And Colonel Church just put a smile on his face, looked at the skipper, and said, "Apparently he's going home, retiring." And skipper just looked at Colonel Church and went, "What?" And Colonel Church said this to him, "Gene, as long as I've known him, has made a statement. Nobody knew me when I came in, and nobody's going to know me when I go home." And apparently that's exactly what he's doing. Well, what's this FTS? Colonel Church just stood there. And I started laughing. And I looked at Colonel Church and I went, "You want me to answer that?" And Colonel Church just kind of nodded. "Yeah." "Ready, Skipper?" "Fuck the suck. I'm out of here." I finished my cup of coffee. Well, the skipper told Lieutenant Colonel Church that he was excused. So Colonel Church shook my hand and he goes, "Gene, I hope I didn't ruin your retirement." I said, "No, sir, you did not. In fact, I'm glad you stopped in," and shook my hand. "I'm proud of shaking yours. And have a good flight. I noticed you're on the flight schedule today." "Yep, sure am. Gene, bye, bye." And he was going out of the office. Skipper asked me if I could stick around for a little bit and talk to him, because he has heard some discouraging things about me. And I looked at him and I went, "Oh, you must be talking about the Navy. About some command master chiefs, one that I'm accused of going through his record book. Another one, when I first checked in here, his wife was wearing the American flag on her butt. Is that what we're talking about, Skipper?" I'll put it bluntly, yes. And also about you and the maintenance officer. Well, sir, I tell it like it is. And he says, "Well, is there anything that you have against me?" And I looked at him and I says, No, sir, I just got you pegged as a man that goes along with the program. Doesn't really see what he's looking at. And that skipper looked at me and went, "Excuse me?" And I said, "You're about ready to go into a court-martial. There's a senior chief, Filipino guy, working in maintenance control downstairs. He's up for master chief. But they're charging him court-martial. And you're going to be on the court-martial board." And Master Chief Trotta, Lieutenant, oh geez, I can't even remember the guy's name. But anyways, I named off 2 Master Chiefs and 2 lieutenants that were, did some paperwork to make the senior chief look bad against the airplanes, which is critical flight. So they ran the flagpole up to court-martial him because he's a Filipino, not American. Even though the agreement between the United States and the Philippines, he made it all the way up to senior chief. But the people in that training command didn't want him to go to master chief. And Skipper and I talked about that good 5-10 minutes. And he took notes. And we talked about the chief's mess, and he took notes. And we talked about some other items, took notes and took notes and took notes. I had to make out a statement one time for a major, the assistant maintenance officer. And because I was told I wasn't allowed to spend a night in this one airman's trailer. So, but according to maintenance officer, I wasn't breaking any Navy regs, but the Marine Corps was a little bit upset with me. So I was ordered not to spend any more nights there. So I said, fine, I won't. You know, no big deal. You know, she's got a boyfriend. What do I care? You know, I just like getting out of the barracks. Well, the major called me in one day to have me make out a statement. And he informed me that the statement's going to be part of a court-martial. If my vehicle is found in her driveway one more time, I'm going up for a court-martial. Can I make a statement after you have me write out the statement? He said yes. So I did. I made out the statement exactly as he worded it. All I had to do was sign my name to it. Now the maintenance officer was sitting in his chair, and his name was Cochran. And I loved the guy. His wife and I would swap recipes. But this major was a nutcase. Anyways, I made out the statement as per he instructed me. And when we got done, I looked at him and I said, well, sir, it looks like there's going to be 2 questions. Do you mind if I ask both questions? No. As long as you sign it and give it to me, it's going to go for your court-martial. If your vehicle is parked one more time in her driveway. I said, okay. It says here in the first line, I will resolve all personal contact from Airman Showman. Are we talking fucking? He just looked at me. And I went, well, apparently you are talking about fucking. Well, here's my second question. As a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, I'm supposed to know everything about my troops. Their ins, their outs, what they own, what they got. I'm supposed to know about their wives and their kids. In other words, I'm part of their leader. I'm supposed to know everything about them. And if I'm wrong, sir, you're going to have to correct me. But as a major in the Marine Corps, especially your position as assistant maintenance officer, you're supposed to know your staff NCOs and everything about them. Or am I talking non-Marine Corps? Well, he looked at me and, you know very well what the Marine Corps policy is. And I says, yes, sir. I sure do. I just hope you do. What do you mean by that, Gunny? Sir, if you know me, what vehicle do I have here that I park in her driveway? Because everybody down here knows that my vehicle is up in Beaufort, South Carolina, and what I have down here is a 12-speed bicycle. And I think there's a big difference between a 12-speed bicycle and a vehicle. Well, the major looked at that statement that I just made out, and he goes, well, that kind of makes that statement kind of ridiculous, don't it? And I said, no, sir, it does not. But it sure makes that asshole that had me fill it out look like a fool. He looked at me and he goes, Gunny, you're on the verge of being disrespectful. And I took that thing and I ripped it up. And I said, no, sir. I've already crossed that line. I am being disrespectful and you are an asshole. I turned around and walked out. Well, I got called upstairs to the XO's office. Lieutenant Colonel Church. Church and I talked. Major came in. Colonel Church ordered the major to apologize to me. Because I was right. And the information that that major got was wrong by this captain. This other Marine Corps captain. So, but that happened about 4 months before I retired. But anyways, you know, that's the fun that I had being with the Navy. Well, a good friend of mine, well, yeah, I had a friend in the Navy, Ray Clay. He retired in March after I did. I retired December. He retired in March. Well, I went down because I wanted to make sure I was there to watch him walk the red carpet with the bullets and the whistles and the bugles and all that crap. So I'm sitting down there, and this Master Chief comes up to me, the Filipino. Comes up to me and he goes, Gene, I owe you my life. And I looked at him and I said, no, sir. I owe you my respect. And I do respect you as we were shaking hands. You know, he was a good guy. Fantastic. Got all the respect in the world for him. Well, Skipper came over, asked me if I'd stop in his office. He wanted to talk to me. I said, sure, I can stop there. Is there coffee up there? And he just started laughing. He goes, there'll be a fresh pot. Right after this, there'll be a fresh pot up there. I said, okay, I'll be up right after this. He goes over and apparently makes a phone call to the secretary to make sure that there's a fresh pot of coffee up there. Because the ceremony only takes about 25 minutes. But it brings out everybody. A formation. You got your officer and the seniors, and there's about 200 of them and about 500 troops just to watch one guy walk the biggest waste of money that there is, you know. But Ray, retarded. So, anyway, you know, long story short, I loved it, and I miss it. Missed the hell out of it. Wish I could go back in. So, but anyways, That's my Marine Corps career. So, anyways, I'm going to have fun posting this like I posted the other one. And see what kind of trouble I can get in for this one. I love this thing. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So, have a beautiful week. Bye.